But it'd be useful, Matt, what do the overall stats say? How happy are we, or how happy aren't we?
Yeah, so I'll try and do it in 2 minutes, really quick. So
you haven't got 40 slides for me.
No, unless you want, I can if you want, John. But I think everyone will be asleep. They'll be asleep. But pre-coronavirus, and I'm just going to I'm going to take global, but let's just imagine that I've put the data together so we can run a linear line, because obviously things happened in China before they happened here. So before lockdown, before coronavirus, the global average on a scale of 1 to 10 for employee happiness was 7.3. And just so everyone knows that I'm not just talking fluffiness, employee happiness directly impacts the financial performance of a company. So what I'm about to show you impacts the finances of companies and how they perform. Immediately, as soon as coronavirus broke out, employee happiness across the globe dropped that from 7.3 to 5.8. But quite quickly, because we go through this thing called a change curve, we settled back to about a 6.1. What we observed in everyone, and I think this is what John was talking about with the client bit, was something called an emotional deficit. So that's the thing that where we can support each other. That's like what John is saying. Let's say you've had a tough conversation with a client, and then you can go to the pub and speak to one of your colleagues about it. So one of the things that we noticed is the amount that people fed back on how they felt tripled. Like, that's, in a statistical perspective, that's massive. So people were tripled the amount that they were feeding in. But the thing to remember is that leaders were also going through this. So some leaders were fighting, but some were flying, as in running away. And that's not judgment. It's just the fact that at that point, employees wanted to speak more, but some leaders were speaking less because they were worried about looking like they didn't have the answers. The worst point in the year, so it gets worse. The worst point was around September. And I think that's the summer end, schools have gone back. It went to an all-time low of 5.2. But we actually saw a gradual increase up to Christmas of about 6.2. And the good news is it has started to tick up week on week at the moment. And we're seeing that in our own conversations in the sales pipeline and confidence and the newspapers. So in the UK, the vaccine is particularly having a positive impact. Two things that I want people to leave people in their insight, in their heads are, some people have been happier in lockdown than before lockdown. So, for example, engineers have become happier in lockdown. They don't want people like me and John Readman walking around the office asking them how they are. They want to be able to get their head down and work on their tasks. Now, I am generalizing here, and not every engineer is the same. But certain people are happier not being in the office. So I just want to leave you with that point. Some people are much unhappy. They're much unhappier by not being in the office. So it's not as simple as saying the office is good and work from home is bad. And we'll get into this conversation now. But that's just what I wanted to leave you with. The experience for everyone is different. And the final point, because John mentioned the neuroscience perspective, that I'll just leave everyone with on the data. Everyone on here that's listening now is a different person to they were yesterday, right? Because of the experiences we've been through. But every single person has been changed fundamentally from a coronavirus perspective, whether they've had coronavirus or not. What's happened has changed us all. So remember that the Max, Louise, Victoria, or John that is coming back potentially into the office is fundamentally changed. So the way they view the world has changed massively, and you need to understand that they may have different expectations. So remember that never has it been more important to listen. And I don't even mean via our tech. I mean just generally with these things that we've got here. Listening to your people in the next 2 to 3 months is going to be the most important business skill that I can recommend for anyone that's listening.